country. This is going to be about potentially millions of people losing their jobs. It's going to be about millions of people losing their savings, many of people losing their retirement security, and at the same time taking on even higher costs for everything they buy. So that's going to push us in potentially to foreclosures or people being pushed out of their apartments.
A few moments later.
This is CNN Breaking News.
And the breaking news this morning, a major breakthrough in the trade war between the United States and China. The two sides making a surprise announcement after a weekend of talks in Switzerland under the agreement unveiled by the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. For 90 days, the U.S. is going to cut its tariffs on Chinese goods from 145% down to 30%. And China will cut its levies on U.S. imports from 125% to 10%. During these 90 days, then, the countries say that the negotiations continue. Globally, markets are cheering the news. U.S. stock futures, we'll take a look at that, way up ahead of the opening bell on Wall Street after weeks of wild volatility that we've all been experiencing and covering over President Trump's tariffs, which have disrupted supply chain and raised recession fears. President Trump will likely be asked about all of this when he signs an executive order later this morning that he says will be to lower prescription drug prices. Let's get over to the White House right now. CNN's Elena Treen is standing by. Break all of this down for us right now as we know it so far, Elena.
Okay, I mean, this is a major breakthrough between the United States and China following these talks in Geneva this weekend. The Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, announced in a 3 a.m. press conference that both countries have agreed to dramatically scale back these tariffs for at least 90 days. Now, we're expected to see these tariffs be rolled back starting May 14th. That's just 2 days from now. And I want to reiterate how you laid this out. So essentially, the United States is going to temporarily lower its overall tariffs on Chinese goods from 145% to 30%, while China is going to roll back its tariffs on American imports from 125% to 10%.
Great to have you with us. Please like, subscribe, and share. Good morning, me here at the Chris Highland Show. Really appreciate you rolling up. We have got Winter Monday. Winner Monday. This is awesome stuff. America First is rolling. This is great news. We've had a busy news day. Obviously, we're broadcasting here at about 2 o'clock. Before basically 10 a.m., we had all of the news we can handle in a week, in 2 hours. Trump is rolling at a rate and at a pace that I wasn't even sure he could keep up the pace at which he was rolling out new executive orders, new massive changes. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. We've got Trump and the new trade deal with China. It's not an official inked deal. We have got the format, the framework of a deal, and they've gotten it close enough that Trump is willing to roll back the tariffs. Chinese are rolling back the tariffs. And more importantly, according to Bessent, they have at least agreement. We'll see the devil's in the details on all of the non-trade barriers, all of the currency manipulation, all of the IP theft, all of that stuff. So this is fantastic news, and the markets are roaring. The Dow up over 1,000 points, and the NASDAQ up almost 900. It is, all of this nonsense talk that you saw from idiots like Elizabeth Warren on the Psaki show talking about how everyone's going to lose their job, they're going to lose their retirement. The market is almost back up to its high water mark. And at the same time, Trump is reorienting global trade. You'll remember that when he signed the UK deal, the media poo-pooed it. They're one of our friends anyway. They don't really matter. They're so small. It doesn't really matter. First, they said he had to have a deal. There's no deal. There's no deal. When's Trump going to get a deal? All this stuff. Trump's no deal. All the media could talk about was the fact that we didn't have a deal. And then all of a sudden, there was a deal. First of all, the market started recovering. They didn't want to talk about that. Then there was the first deal, the UK deal. They poo-pooed that. It's too small. It's not that big. It's not important. The only thing that matters is China. So what does he do over the weekend? He sends his trade representative with Bessent to Switzerland because China bent the knee. China caved. The same China that said over and over again, we will not We will not give in to America. We will not kowtow. We will not. Well, they gave in. Why? Because their economy is a shambles. They are facing an economic extinction level of a multitude, the perfect storm, really, of massive bank failures coming on the heels of a huge real estate bubble market that was created by the CCP, just basically building everything they could build. Mega projects, mega cities that turned out to be ghost cities that has crushed the residential real estate market because nobody trusts that anymore and people can't pay their mortgages. You exacerbate that with the fact that their export-driven economy was crushed by US tariffs. You had company closures, people now out of work. The CCP can't pay them. All of this, along with all of their demographic issues, which are underlying all this, have proven to be too much weight to bear. And Xi Jinping basically, non-publicly, he didn't do it publicly, started by rolling back tariffs on key US materials. Things like ethylene, which they need to make plastic, and other stuff. They were starting rolling tariffs because they realized they would never survive. Then he quietly reached out to Trump, and they had a meeting over in Switzerland over the weekend. Besant came out on Saturday and basically said, hey, it's been very productive. Things have been good. Well, they announced today that they've got the framework, enough of a framework for a deal that they're willing, everybody's dropping their reciprocal tariffs. But when you notice that in the details, our tariff on China is still 30%. It's the 10% market privilege tariff plus the 20% for basically fentanyl. And this does not include specific tariffs on specific industries like steel, pharmaceuticals, automobiles. Those are all still in place. On the US side, China's tariffs are down to 10%. And so the trade can start flowing again. The markets love this. Do you know who hates this though? It's the media, the libs, the Dems. They are coping today. All right, let's dive in. I want to give you the announcement from Besant himself. Here we go.
Reached an agreement on a 90-day pause and substantially down tariff levels. Both sides on the reciprocal tariffs will move their tariffs down 115%. We had very robust discussions. Both sides showed great respect. It was a chance for me to meet the Chinese delegation. The vice premier I had previously had only a video call with. Ambassador Jameson was familiar with two of the other leaders on the delegation from his previous time. So there was very good personal interaction. Both countries represented their national interests very well. We concluded that we have shared interest, and we both have an interest in balanced trade. The U.S. will continue moving.
So this is a phenomenal deal. Now, I'll be one that when I first heard this, I'm like, did we go too soon? Did we allow them back in too soon? Should we have crushed their economy? Should we have made them publicly bend the knee? Maybe yes, maybe no. Trump and his team know a heck of a lot more than I do, not only from an experience perspective, but just they have access to data that we do not have. And they're also dealing with trying to balance essentially putting our enemy on the ground with our foot on their throat with how do we maintain the momentum in our own country, because we've got to get the economy roaring, get into the midterms so that we avoid any kind of loss in the House and Dem nonsense going on. So all of that is being balanced. And you could tell Besant was kind of strung out I mean, he's obviously tired. He flew to Switzerland, had essentially 2.5 days of marathon trade meetings, got back on a plane, flew for another 6 hours back to DC, and now he's announcing this. But this is phenomenal news. So Trump has gotten them to bend the knee. And again, we're also showing a pattern. I want you to realize that the pattern that is coming out of both of these trade deals now is that we will mandate that there is no major trade deficit. We're going to do that by making China buy a lot of our agricultural products and a lot of other things. But the other thing that is consistent among both trade deals is the 10% US market access fee. If you want to do business in the US, it will cost you 10%, or you make your product in the US. You manufactured here and employ US workers. Now, again, what this means, that 10% has been estimated to be upwards of $5 billion a day. That's almost a trillion a year in revenue flowing into the US, not from US taxpayers in the form of any kind of income tax. So again, this is a phenomenal. This is a huge win for American business. This is a huge win for the Treasury. This is a huge win for the American worker because we're rebalancing this stuff. Now, as you can well guess, the libs are seething. They are angry. They are sad. They don't want to completely show it. But whenever America and American workers win, they hate it because they want us to lose. They're beholden to their globalist puppet masters. Make no mistake. This is not just they're kind of on the wrong side of information here. No. They are in ideologically with the destruction, with the minimization of the US in favor of the entire global community. And they want to reinstitute a world order that allows certain elites, certain establishment types to always be in perennial power. And we don't want that. We want an upwardly mobile society. So check out Scarborough because he had Bessent on his show. And you can tell Scarborough was not happy that Trump is winning. They would rather America lose and Trump lose than both America and Trump win. No matter what, they want Trump to lose, even if that means you lose your job, you lose your house, you lose your savings, all the above. All right, let's check out the full copium from Scarborough.
Wants it to go. I was in touch with him over the weekend, and he wants free trade, free and fair trade. We've had free trade, and as you said, that has not worked for the American people. There's something called the China shock, which has gutted our manufacturing sector, and China has a different form of government for us. They have a different economic model where they subsidize labor, they subsidize capital goods, and they have exported that to us and the rest of the world. We have put up tariffs to push back on that, so it will be a matter of what is the equilibrium level on tariffs and also getting China to open their markets for American companies. Because China actually has a low tariff regime, but it is the non-tariff trade barriers that can be the most
I love it when I heard this.
difficult to overcome. So we will be focusing on the non-tariff trade barriers and the subsidies, and the idea that China can become more open to American business, and the things that are sold into the U.S. Can not have the same level of subsidy. And
when I heard this, I was very, very, very encouraged. Because again, it's Bessent talking about that in their talks. They specifically focused on all of the non-tariff stuff. They focused on the currency manipulation. They focused on subsidizing capital and labor markets. You've got the Chinese government paying a lot of workers. They're guaranteeing their wages so the companies can pay these guys peanuts. And they can employ a bunch of them. They can overstaff their labor, meaning they can get quicker output at lower prices. They don't have to scale according to market conditions. There's a lot of things that Chinese businesses can do with Chinese labor because that labor is subsidized. The capital is subsidized. The Chinese government undergirds a lot of industries. They subsidize them with government money. It's the same thing that happens in the European Union a lot of time, but to a much bigger extent. So this is phenomenal news that they are focusing on the important stuff. Now, we have to make sure that the agreement has teeth, the devil is in the details, and that we make China comply with whatever agreement we come up with. That's going to be a lot easier given that Trump has already shown a willingness. If you don't comply, like you didn't here in March and April and May, we will go straight to 100+% tariffs, and we will essentially embargo China. And the fact that he has shown a willingness to do it means I think we've got a much better shot of China complying and honoring this trade deal as we move forward.
No one wants to do a generalized decoupling, but we are going to do a strategic decoupling because we realized during COVID that efficient supply chains were not secure supply chains. So with steel, with semiconductors, with medicines, with a couple of other strategic categories, we are going to have to become self-reliant again.
Look at his face. Look at Scarborough's face. Scarborough is not buying any. He can't stand this. It's not that he doesn't. It's not that he doesn't understand it. It's not that he's not buying it like he doesn't think it's true. He knows it's true. He is just seething that Trump is winning. The guy that he had on his show, that his wife touched his hair and kissed him, the guy that they loved when he was a Democrat, when he ran as a Republican and said, no, I can't be bought. I will not be owned by pharmaceuticals. I will not be owned by the mainstream media. When he said, I will not be controlled, they hated him, and they still hate him to the point that they are willing for your life to get worse just so Trump can lose. Now, this is, I am loving the road that Trump is going down. His tariffs are working. This is amazing stuff. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like the content, please share it with everybody that you know. Hello, everybody. You guys are awesome. Thanks so much for being here. All right. Now, got a little private citizen who had some things to say about the libs on this trade stuff. I thought it was humorous. I thought it fit in nicely with what we're talking about today. Let's check out this gentleman as he talks about the libs. But it goes back to, I would do say, it goes back to the idea that he's right. Libs hate it when Trump and America win. If America winning means that Trump has to get credit for the victory, liberals would rather you lose. They would rather you go under. They would rather you lose your job. Now, to that end, Scott Jennings, this was right before the trade deal, but during the talks with Switzerland, Scott Jennings had once again to own this panel on the Abby Phillips show. How she even has a show. The only reason people, I think, watch her show is to see Scott Jennings, because she is not a journalist. She's a complete failure as a host, if you ask me. I mean, she's terrible. Her show is horrible except for Jennings. But check out, because we've actually got a liberal, one of these whack job liberals, talking about how bad it is because of the tariffs. Here we go.
The trade is asymmetrical. And trade is asymmetrical in China. We imported over 439 billion products from China. We exported over 140 billion from China. Their own foreign ministry has said, we will not flinch. We will not genuflect to a bullying government. I respectfully disagree.
You, though, Tiffany, that we rely so much on an adversary to make most of our goods?
Listen, whether it bothers me or not is irrelevant. I'm dealing with reality. It is important, but this is what it is.
It is absolutely relevant, you ridiculous woman, liberal, goofball. It's absolutely relevant. We cannot rely on China for pharmaceuticals, for steel, for chips, for anything that is of a national security interest, because they are our enemy. They are not our friend. They are the enemy that we trade with. They are our adversary. Their self-proclaimed mission is global dominance. They want to eliminate the US because we stand in their way. So it is absolutely relevant. This is nuts that she has to get called out on the show.
It have to be the reality that we are dependent on so many things to come out of our biggest adversary in the world. They are the enemy, and we should not be dependent on them.
But no, they are not our enemy. They're our biggest trading partner.
They are our enemy. Just because they're our biggest trading partner does not make them a friend at all.
And if we
earth minerals and you don't.
Scott Bessent today under oath said we're currently negotiating with 16 of the 17 most important countries, and he'll be meeting with the Chinese this weekend when they all converge in Switzerland. I think dealing with, with all due respect to all these other countries making deals, they're small and relatively unimportant. We're the big player in the field, and everybody knows it, and people would rather do business with us than do business with China because of what Jim just said. They have all these strategies to inflict pain upon you if you don't bend to their will or allow them to break the rules. And so I think when you're dealing with the United States, it's going to take a little bit of time to work out the best deal for us and the best deal for them. But I have a lot of confidence that when push comes to shove and people get right down to it, an alliance, a trading partnership, business dealings with the United States is a heck of a lot better than being reliant on the Chinese because they have seen what they have done to us and everybody else in the world. The decoupling and the isolation of China is a real thing, and, it may be a little painful, but it's necessary. Most significant country.
No,
we are the
Scott,
world
stop with the
superpower.
jingoism.
We are the world
let
superpower.
me stop with the jingoism.
Dealing with us is the most important thing.
Stop. Do you think that China can just with the EU? Do you think that China can do just as well with India?
If I were the EU, I would not want to be reliant. And look what's happened to us.
This woman is a complete moron. Stop with the jingoism. Stop. I mean, first of all, she's annoying. Second of all, she just looks horrible. But beyond that, beyond the fact that her voice is annoying, that just her whole facial expression looks horrible. The things that are coming out of her mouth are completely stupid. Stop with your jingoism. No, China is our adversary. China is still our enemy. Oh, you don't think that China can just as well eat you? No, they can't. Because the United States is 39% of global consumption. So China cannot do as well with any other market. We make up almost, think of it, 39 it's more than a third. It's almost half. Almost half of global consumption is right here in the 50 United States. And if you don't do business as a business, if you don't do business in the US, you're forfeiting 40% of global consumption. So China cannot take all the stuff that they manufacture for America and suddenly ship it to Europe. First of all, Europe is far more protectionist in their trade policies. They're not just going to let China walk in. They don't let America walk in. They're not just going to let China walk in. There is no way China replaces 15% of their total GDP output in exports in the European Union or Africa or Asia or anywhere. They cannot do it. We are the consumer. We have the gold, so we get to make the rules. So no, China cannot do that. And the EU would be crazy to do business with China to get even closer because China is the EU's adversary as well.
They don't want it.
It's not a question of reliance. It's a question on the fact that everybody is cutting deals with each other. We're not cutting deals with anybody.
We have one thing in the news tonight.
No.
You guys keep saying
We're having discussions with each other.
We're in the middle of talking to 60 countries, according to the Treasury Secretary.
According to the Treasury Secretary, we've been hearing from them for over a month that we're on the cusp any day now. Any day. Lying? No, I'm saying that I've been hearing.
He's under oath today.
I'm saying that every deal that we heard about is coming any day now.
Well, guess what? We got a deal with the UK. Now we have a deal framework with China. And at the same time, the European Union was slapping 67% tariffs on China. They understand the game as well. It is ridiculous people like this, libs who are seething over Trump winning. They are so blinded by Trump derangement syndrome, they cannot see the forest through the trees. They would rather you lose your job, you lose your house, everything, than Trump win. Now, on the eve of that, let's check out Fox News. I thought had a pretty good segment. We're not going to listen to all of it, but I thought they had a really, really great segment, the whole trade deal. Here we go.
Advisor Steve Moore is with us now. I think that for the folks at home, could you summarize what just happened? Because this was initially about national security, and then it got to be more about they're savers, they're not consumers, and then we aren't making enough, and then on and on. So basically, we went through all of this to get to this point, and what does that mean for consumers at home?
If this deal is consummated, and we just have heard the initial agreement, but if it really is put into law, this is a blockbuster. This is huge. I mean, look at the green on the screen there. Dow futures up 1,000 points. Wall Street loves this. American businesses love this. And by the way, Dana, you guys, you and Bill have known me a long time. I'm not a big tariff guy, and I've been skeptical that this strategy will work. My gosh, last week it's the big deal with the UK, which was a great deal for the US and Britain. And now the big kahuna here is, of course, China. This is our the evil empire. They're the ones that cheat and steal the most. So this is very, very good news for the American economy, very good news for American businesses. I didn't think Trump could pull it off, but it looks like he has.
Okay, so here.
Absolutely. There are so many people who have a functioning frontal lobe who are honest brokers, at least partially honest, somewhat honest brokers. There's a lot of people out there who are waking up to, I didn't think Trump could do it. Now, whether they fundamentally believe tariffs were wrong because they have a wrong-headed view of tariffs, or because they have a bad experience with tariffs, or whatever their philosophy was. There are some people that had a legitimate economic idea that tariffs won't work because they think that they'll produce something different. And there's a whole bunch of people that thought, well, maybe tariffs would work, but Trump's using a sledgehammer instead of a scalpel. They tried to do anything. But as people like this, Stephen Moore, are saying, you know what, I didn't think Trump could pull it off. But Trump is the deal maker, and Trump knows what he's doing along with Bessent and his team. They understand what is happening. They understand how to manipulate not only not global markets per se, although that, but countries. It's just like manipulating buyers and sellers in a deal. You have to have leverage. The tariffs were essentially inflated prices. Just like when you walk into a store and you're going to go buy shoes, okay, if you're a woman, you're going to go buy $150 shoes or more. And you walk into that store and they are on sale for $70. Ooh, let's go. Let's get those shoes. Those shoes don't cost $70. They cost $20. Originally you were buying them for $150. That's the tariff. And then the store said, hey, let's lower the tariffs. And now you get them for $70, and it creates urgency. It creates a sense of, let me go do this now. The $140 created leverage so that the $70 was something worth going after. Trump created leverage, but it's far more reaching than that, because it's not just about the purchase of one, want to have or need, or, have item. It's more need to have, and it affects everything else in your economy. So when Trump, and it only works because we are the largest consumer. If we were 10% of global consumption, no one would care. They'd go sell their stuff elsewhere, but they can't, because the US is the global customer. So this is absolutely amazing stuff. Trump winning. And now we've got a potential deal with China. The markets are soaring. No longer can the Dems talk about, your 401k. No, none of that. At the same time, all the other prices are down. Oil is down. Interest rates are down. Eggs are down. Food's down. It's fantastic stuff.